So I thought about myself when I first started to learn about you and your upbringing and whatnot. I grew up in a black household,
Hmm.
in a somewhat musical household. My mother could play the piano, my brother could play instruments. My father attempted to play the guitar like many black fathers attempted to. Um,
I'm
but
sure
I,
that's most fathers, right? Most fathers do
yeah.
something. They got to do something.
But like, I remember as a very, very young child, um, seeing what music meant to my parents and then learning music by way of what it apparently meant to them. I knew like music to my parents meant love, it meant happiness, it meant joy, it meant resonance.
Hmm.
And like my mom was very much into the Motown sound. Both of my parents are from the South, moved up north in the 60s. My
Hmm.
father's favorite singer and my favorite singer of all time was Sam Cooke. And from him, I got resonance. From my
Uh-huh.
mom, I got, all the things, but from him particularly, I got resonance. I understood that my father got Sam Cooke, and I understood that Sam Cooke's music got my father in a
Hmm.
way. So I'm very curious, just as a person, as a child especially, like how did your musical influences, both in the household, extended family, and just in general, how did it shape your understanding and your love of music as a child?
Well, my father was a musician, and he, like your parents, he was he was born and raised in the South in Jackson, Mississippi,
Hmm.
and then like a lot of families in the South, they migrated north.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you trace the story of my family, it pretty much mirrors a lot of families that will find themselves located in those northern cities. They generally had their roots in the South. So when you find a lot of people, a lot of Black folks in Chicago and Detroit,
Hmm.
a lot of them migrated from Mississippi and Alabama. When you find folks in Philly and New York, a lot of those folks came from like North and South Carolina,
Hmm.
Virginia, and stuff like that. When you find folks in California, you find
Hmm.
folks from Texas.
Yeah.
So it's like you like if you trace and it goes the music is the same way. Like Max Roach, North Carolina, so he found himself up in Brooklyn.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
John Coltrane, North Carolina, he found himself
Right.
up in Philly. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Monk, North Carolina, New York
Right.
City. So I mean, that same story resonates in my family as well.
Yeah.
So being raised in that environment, I mean, my father played with everybody from uh, Stevie Wonder, Little
Hmm.
Stevie Wonder, and Motown, and Martha Reeves and the Vandellas to
Hmm.
Cecil Taylor to Marvin Gaye to Ella Fitzgerald to
Yeah.
to Lee Morgan and the Duke Ellington band. So I mean, it was a wide swath of
Right.
of of of, of cultural and musical information that
Yeah.
was that I saw all the time. So
Hmm.
that's kind of what informed my taste,
Hmm.
because there were so many options, and it was just like a huge record collection too. Like I can remember listening to the Firebird Suite from
Yeah.
Stravinsky, and it was popping just like Al Green for me.
Yeah.
Because I could hear something in that music that was exhilarating. So there was
Right.
never
Right.
any labels or stigma attached to anything that was creative.
Hmm.
All sources were
Yeah.
accessible and accepted.
Right. Right. I wonder, that makes me wonder like how much of that, the ability to access and to like receive all those different forms of music, how much of that was influenced or informed by the fact that the people in your surroundings weren't just musical, but they were the Stevie Wonders of the world. They were the Max Roaches of the world. They were masters. And so you could
Mm-hmm.
hear things from other masters because you weren't just hearing your dad's favorite such and such. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
interest.
I was really fortunate in that regard.
Yeah, yeah.
I took it for granted completely. Believe me, I took it for granted when I was, young. Just like, just when you have the mind of a child, you have no reference point to understand how important these people are, and know the
Yeah.
gravity of the work that they've done. I had no way to fully understand that. As you
Hmm.
grow older, then you start, for me, as I grow
Hmm.
older, as I grew older, and still now, you become a lot more appreciative, you
Yeah.
know, of the opportunities that were afforded to you. you know,
Of course. Of course. Speaking
yeah,
of that, like we're having this conversation today in light of the upcoming Max Roach Freedom Now suite um, performance that you musically directed, and growing up with Max Roach as I've heard you put it, your godfather. Can you, aside from necessarily the music and drumming, can you talk about how, like, any philosophies or lessons that he gave you just as a young man, things that
yeah.
just stuck with you?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I carry his wisdom with me every day.
Mhm,
Um, he was one of those people who was really important to me at a time in my life where I needed somebody to be important like that. Him and
mhm,
Dr. Fred King, who was also a
mhm,
percussionist in the boom, and Michael Carvin.
mhm.
After my father passed away, those three gentlemen, along with like my uncle and my grandfather. I mean, I was
Right.
fortunate to have like a strong family unit. But this
Mhm,
is like,
mhm.
they talked about the extended family, but these people are family, really,
Yeah,
as far as
yeah.
I'm concerned. So Max was like a godfather, uncle. I spend a lot of time around him just personally. So
Yeah.
and he was all about personal responsibility.
Mhm,
He was always about taking the initiative. You see something that needs to be done, then you be the person that
mhm,
needs to
mhm,
do it. Don't sit
mhm,
around and with your hands in your pockets. That was one of his favorite statements.
mhm, mhm.
See a lot of brothers sitting around with their hands in their pockets. Get your hands in your pockets and do some work. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So he was all about getting that work done. And
Mhm,
sometimes you had to, in order for whatever idea to be able to come to fruition, you had to put some hard work in there. And
mhm,
he was like, and that's the legacy of our people.
mhm,
And he was like, and he was very um serious about as well as my father and those other four
mhm,
gentlemen, about making sure that I realized what that meant
mhm.
in terms of not only the effort that you had to put forth, but the reason that you're putting forth the effort. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
So it was like the science behind the method, right?
Mhm,
And he was, so he was always about the individual responsibility and about the individual path.
mhm,
So it's like, you have talking in a musical sense, but
mhm,
also in a personal sense too.
mhm,
I was relaying. I had asked him a personal question, about how you determine, how somebody's the right person or something like that,
mhm, mhm.
female wise or something. He
Yep.
was like, "That's a personal question and whatnot." Meaning like, man up, brother, man
Yeah,
up, young brother.
yeah.
You got eyes. Knowing, meaning like, if you have to rely on the tools that you already have, and then be able to trust those, and then be able to
Mhm,
tread through the waters, and then
mhm.
trust that the tools that you have will enable you to deal with whatever situation arises. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I don't know if you have kids, but once you have kids, you
Mhm,
realize like, the advice you get from the in-laws takes you but so far.
yeah.
And it's with love and everything, but every child is different.
Right, right,
Every situation is different. So it's
right.
like, oh, he's crying, but oh yeah, he's hungry. Well, I'm fed him. He's not. He's still.
Yeah,
Oh, so something else. I
yeah,
don't know. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
You got to figure it out. And,
Right.
and a lot of times it's the same in the music. There's a certain amount of uh, mysticism involved
Mhm,
in the music,
mhm,
as it is in
mhm,
life, where you get an instruction booklet to do certain things, and to really accomplish the task,
mhm.
the things you need are not in the instruction book.
Right,
Like, you know what I mean?
right.
So really,
Yeah.
you're like, wait, I'm doing everything that's in the instruction book, and how come I can't assemble this? And it's like, yeah,
Right,
there's
right,
something else you need.
right.
And he was always encouraging in and being and supportive in you having faith in yourself to continue
Mhm,
on that path. He was like,
mhm.
no, 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 trust the information that you have, and that
Yeah.
you're in pursuit of. You're on the right path. I'm supporting you in that. Keep doing what you're doing, but there's no easy
Hmm.
There's no shortcuts.
Right, right, right.
You know, this is this is this is
Yeah,
this is this is this is this is this is long work. This is
right.
long work. But if you come at it in the right way, you can have a good time. You can take care of your family. You can travel the world. You can
Yeah.
do all that. If you have you can, but you have to have a certain type of mentality and a certain type of humility
Hmm.
along with your quest.
Hmm.
And part of that quest is not being an impersonator.
Right.
A large part of that quest is being develop, kind of purifying the vessel so that you know that the source is as unobstructed as possible
Hmm.
when it
Hmm.
comes to what you can offer. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah,
like that's what you practice and getting all your stuff together for and whatnot, so that when it comes time to hit, that it's unimpeded by your ego. You know what
got
I'm
you.
saying? So
Yeah.
but also in doing that, you are being truthful and honest.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And that's what the situation is about. And when I say this situation, I mean like offering music to people
Hmm.
is about that type of it. It has to be coming through a pure place, or you
Hmm.
want to have it be as pure as possible.
Yeah.
Um, and that's honest. And so that means it ain't pure if you're playing somebody else's language
Right.
like verbatim. That ain't
Right.
honest.
Right. 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 Right.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Even if it
Yeah.
sounds great, it
Right.
could sound great. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But that ain't really honest. You know what I'm saying? In terms of
Yeah.
like, who you are
Right.
in this world and how you fit in there, what's meant for you. You know.
Yeah.
So he was always about that. He always made sure that I understood that it's not just enough to be, you know, or for me at least, it wasn't like he was like, this is what you need to be focusing on. You need to be
Hmm.
focusing on being comfortable with who you are and
Hmm.
offering that. You're on the right path of learning the foundation of it and keep on that path. But alongside that, be developing your own vessel and your own shaping it your own way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. 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 I think it's funny that lately that kind of idea has come up for me quite a bit. In terms of, I'm not a person who enjoys blaming social media for today's problems, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm very much aware that there is an awful lot of echoes in what we receive and hear, and not nearly as we're uh we're in receipt of a lot of echoes. There's original
Yeah.
thought,
Right.
there is original sound, there is original work there, but we get to see so much of what is echoes. And, you know, as much as an echo might be pleasant, it will never be as valuable as an ugly original sound, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the humility that I heard you speak of in terms of like, how you approach your personal work and your vocation, or whatever your life's work includes, has to have the humility uh, to not allow yourself to be rewarded for the applause that comes from a pleasant echo,
Right.
because you will get them. You will get applause for
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
pleasant
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
echoes.
Yeah, yeah, of course. I mean, but you can't revel in that stuff too much and whatnot. I mean, this thing is like it's like sports in a sense. Like
Hmm.
where like
Hmm.
one night you could be hot, you could be
Right,
shooting the lights out. Whoo, you hot?
right,
I'm
right.
dropping 40 of them tonight.
Yeah,
Like unstoppable. And the next night you could be 3 for 15, a couple
right.
of turnovers. you know, and you like, I was feeling hot. I was on fire. I slept
Right,
well. Everything was good. What happened?
right.
It's like that. But you got to
Yeah.
come back the next time. But if you come to it, I remember one time I was watching this Ray Allen.
Hmm.
Like I like sports, right? So I was
Hmm.
watching this Ray Allen. He's like an incredible shooter, right? Incredible
Hmm.
scorer in basketball player. UConn.
Hmm.
It was UConn, right? But then,
Hmm.
yeah, he was at UConn, and then he went up to the Bucks and
Yeah.
Celtics. But and he was talking about, and now me as an outsider looking at him, he was, and I know how you have to be brash and everything as a as a sports person. I dig that. Muhammad Ali. I love Muhammad Ali, but
Hmm.
I remember him like kind of talking about himself in those terms, like, yo, I'm unstoppable. You know, when I get the ball right here, you know, it's lights out. And I was like, oh, wow, I didn't know that you had that type of edge on you. I thought you were
Yeah.
like kind of a humble, like, oh no, you know,
Right.
you know. And then the next game I saw, man, he was horrible.
Right.
Like really, like almost like they were like, this is. I don't think he's ever shot this bad. It was up in there. It was
Right.
up in there like that. And I was like, yeah, the moment you feel like I got this
Yeah.
is the moment that it eludes you, because
Yeah.
it's not.
Yeah.
That's not the spirit with which you're supposed to be. At least for me,
Right.
that's not the spirit with which you're supposed to be entering it. That's not supposed to be the goal.
Right.
You know, the
Right.
goal is to deliver the message. The goal is not to 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 receive praise for delivering the message.
Right. Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's
It's
not the
like
goal.
a
Or although it feels good, that's great. But
yeah.
that's not the goal. That's not
Right.
the goal.
Right. Right. It's like a gorgeous vessel that's still only there to pour out. It's
Exactly.
yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. But you know, but the vessel isn't like, now look at me, take out the water. You know, it's
Right.
like
Right.
it's just
Right.
like this fine ornamentation over here on the side. I mean, it's like, yeah, okay, but you know, it's really more about the. It's more about the message.
Yeah.
That's the most important part. That's where the love and the healing is. You know.
Hmm. Hmm. And the truth. Yeah. So yeah, I was thinking it made me think about John Starks, how you can be all the way on one night, all the way off the next night, and you can still end up one of the greatest to ever do it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But you're not the greatest because you were always on, and you're not
Yeah.
not the greatest because of the nights that you were off.
Exactly.
So let's take it to 70s, 80s New York, coming up in the age of the birth and early days of hip hop, and hip hop having its, influences and pulling from all the places that hip hop pull. I think hip hop just doesn't get nearly enough um, attention on all the places that it pulls from.
Mm-hmm.
Like we don't really talk about dance hall until we're talking about Cool Herc and like who he was
Right. Right.
as an individual. We don't talk about jazz. You know what I mean? We don't talk about James Brown and funk, and we don't talk about these things enough. And in terms of the um, like the palette, the fuller palette
Mm-hmm.
that hip hop, particularly in those days, was pulling from, and many
Mm-hmm.
other genres and cultures, etc. Um, Coming up, in the time and place that you came up, I'm curious about your take on hip hop and your top five.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's another um kind of branch that came out of, you know, the same tree that, you know, the quote unquote jazz came out of, or the quote unquote soul came, or whatever.
Hmm.
Whatever labels have been used to describe those musics.
Hmm.
So for me, it holds that, and it also has some social commentary along
Hmm.
with it, because it definitely makes a comment on folks making lemonade out of lemons to a
Hmm.
large degree. You know,
Hmm.
because you know there was like a serious um, system of, you know, bands that came out of schools and the
Hmm.
educational system and things of that nature,
Hmm.
and all that stuff started receiving cuts in the 80s and so forth. So I
Hmm.
remember going. I think maybe I was one of the last generations to kind of reap those benefits. My brother's 10 years younger than me, and he went to the band after, junior high school band, and it was like a shell of what it was, in the sense that like the
Right.
junior high school band when I was in school, they were like traveling. We were traveling to other schools.
Yeah.
Cats were
Yeah.
playing tracks, and this is just like regular kids from the hood. But
Yeah.
everybody
Yeah.
sounded great. The projects was right across the street. Everybody was,
Right.
you know, the bands was popping.
Right.
You know what
Right.
I mean? And it was like the other bands would come to our school too, playing different types of music and everything.
Hmm.
Um, so they kind of like removed a lot of that from the, and it wasn't in a lot of the communities that we're talking about up in the
Hmm.
Bronx and in different
Hmm.
places in Brooklyn and
Right.
Queens. So those folks are one that had the ingenuity and got to the turntables and started accessing
Hmm.
the music, you know,
Yep.
started sampling and things of that nature,
Hmm.
and create, and this the level of creativity has spawned what is the most popular stuff on the planet right
Mm-hmm.
now. In a popular sense. So I mean, when all that stuff comes out of Louis Armstrong, I mean, those are the
Mm-hmm.
roots of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
Baby Dodds and Cab Calloway. And I mean,
Yeah.
that's the roots.
Yeah.
That's the roots. But it's coming out. It's telling the same story.
Mm-hmm.
And it's being exploited the same way that stuff was as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And misinterpreted and
Mm-hmm.
repackaged and appropriated
Mm-hmm.
and all that stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
But at the roots of it, lays what I'm talking about. Like, so I'm talking about like the KRS
Mm-hmm.
and those folks are what those
Yep.
folks are the true. Like when you listen to him, he's like, I'm real hip hop. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's right. He's like, if I
Yeah.
ain't there, they I'm like, no doubt, because he's talking
Right.
about the culture. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So he's talking about the graffiti, like we were talking about
Mm-hmm.
aspects of
Mm-hmm.
the art form that are acknowledged and other whatnot. The
Mm-hmm.
dancing, you know what I'm saying? The
Mm-hmm.
breakbeat dancing and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot. All that is in every presentation of the Grammys or every is all of that, all of those
Right.
influences, all up in and all of that. You can trace all that stuff back to West Africa. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
you can trace it
Yeah.
all over the world. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for me, it's a commentary about that. Love the work, and it's have many connections to it. Personal and just as a fan.
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
And yeah, I want to reframe the second part of the question. Instead of top five, I'm just interested in uh through the lens of hip hop, some of your favorite artists, whether they be the rappers, whether they be DJs, whether it be producers,
Mm-hmm.
just like
I
who are some
mean,
cats that resonate with you?
but when you said the top five, I got excited because I was like, yes, I was, you know, I would say I'm gonna give you the top five. That's
Yeah,
anyway. I
please.
just gave you a top five.
Hmm.
I know Buster would be up there.
Hmm.
Big would be up there.
Hmm.
Um, um, who's another person that's up in there? I know everybody always. Oh, Doom, MF Doom would be up in
Hmm.
there.
Yeah.
Doom is Doom. Andre 3000 might be
Hmm.
up in there
Hmm.
for me as well. And then maybe like I don't know who the fifth one would be. I like the way that Little Wayne maybe. The
Okay.
old Weezy was
Yeah,
he
yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
ill. The old
Yeah,
Weezy, and I
for
just
sure.
got really I hadn't even checked this stuff out until the pandemic. And I was like, I got a chance to go do some deep diving. And I
Hmm.
was like, yo, my man was ill. I
Yeah,
mean, just the way he sequenced, and it was clever. I like the
yeah,
clever shit. It was
yeah.
clever, but slick and just,
Yep.
oh, but you know who, too, though? The Black Thought, Black Thought is, I might have to. Black Thought is, yeah,
Yeah,
Black Thought is, yeah, he's ridiculous. Black Thought is,
yeah,
yeah, that's like my top 5 or 6 right there. Yeah, that's
yeah.
ooh, yeah, them brothers. And then when you talk about like producers, it's like Premier,
Hmm.
all the old Premier stuff
Hmm.
is is ridiculous. And I'm trying to think of some of the other, Tip as a
Yep.
producer, ill,
Yep.
ill. Um, there's so many. There's so many. A lot of heavy brothers and
Yeah.
sisters out there
Uh,
dealing with it.
I'm gonna close out talking about the Freedom Now Suite
Hmm.
performance because obviously I
Yes,
don't want to have
that's
not
that's
talked
that's what
about
we're
that.
here to talk about.
Yeah.
That's what we're here to
Yeah.
talk about. Yes, indeed.
So can you talk to me about like how this process has been for you, just like in as the musical director and as a musical director who sits in the position as a person and an artist that you sit in with, with your history with Max Roach, your history with jazz, your history with spoken word, hip hop, like what's this experience been like for you?
It's been wonderful, and it's been challenging to try to use the Freedom Now suite that such a seminal work is. It's almost kind of like a love supreme, something that you don't really want to um adulterate, but at
Right.
the same time thinking about Max and thinking about the way that he recreated it himself.
Yep.
he was like, he's always like, it has to be different. You gotta bring something else in there that's representative of your experience, that's representative of your connection with me.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. That's what I did. You know, that's what will be observed and listened to on the 26th of January.
Yeah.
Is the realization of those ideas through the lenses of myself and Cassandra Wilson and Sonia Sanchez and Saul Williams and Robbie Coltrane will be on tenor. Josh Evans is playing trumpet. Eric Revis is playing bass. Producer Macatini is playing keyboard. We have Melvis Santa, Zafir Tawil, and Kwaku Sumbri on percussion. Luis Bonilla, trombone. Jordan Young, alto. I think that rounds out the crew. So we're coming in 14 deep, and also with the video, Allison Chapman doing the video for the piece. So it's a reimagination of the Freedom Now Suite, and it's also a tribute to Max Roach, because this will be his a celebration of his 100th year of birth, and the Centennial. So this is big. This is big work for me, and I'm honored to have been chosen to help put this together.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to be in the house that night. I'm looking forward to taking it all in.
We want to spread the word and have people come on out and join the occasion, the festivities and something such.
Yeah, for the sake of the source, for sure.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, that's it for me, brother. I don't want to take up too much. Oh, I just want to give you props. I did get to take in the tiny desk you did with Christian McBride.
Oh, yes.
And man, that was delightful.
Oh, thank you, brother.
That was incredibly delightful.
Oh, beautiful. Glad you enjoyed it. The reason I got the gig to do this was because Christian recommended me to David Rodriguez at NJPAC. David Rodriguez is the executive producer and director of the NJPAC. And Christian is the curator and I think the artistic director. And they wanted to do something because David Rodriguez is an old friend of Max and worked with him for many years producing. He produced the Freedom Now Suite Reimagined in the 90s with Cassandra and Olatunji and a choir. Dancers, you know, it was like a whole another thing. Right. So and David kept making me, he was like, and remember, it can't be like, you know, it can't be the same thing. It can't be the same thing. I was like, don't worry about it. I got you. I got the message. You know, it was like all latitude. Yeah.
Super dope. Thank you, man. I look forward to it. And I appreciate you again for the time today. Nice to meet you too. Talk to you soon.